Have you ever been in one of those team meetings? You know the one, where everyone has a totally different idea of what's most important. Yeah, it's a classic roadblock that can bring even the best projects to a screeching halt. Well, today we are diving into a really powerful framework that's designed to cut right through that noise and get everyone, finally, on the same page. Let's see how it works.
So, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll dig into the problem itself. Then we'll introduce the MoSCoW method. We're going to break down that acronym, explore the huge payoff, watch out for a few common pitfalls, and then wrap up with the big takeaway for you.
All right, let's get right to the heart of it. Why is it so ridiculously hard to get a group of smart, talented people to just agree on what to do first?
I mean, think about it. You get a bunch of people in a room, and every single one of them has their own perspective, their own priorities. So trying to figure out what comes first, it can feel absolutely impossible. The debates just go around and around in circles, and any clear path forward just gets lost in this fog of different opinions.
And this isn't just, frustrating. It has real-world consequences. When you don't have a clear framework to make these calls, teams end up just burning through their most valuable assets, their time, their energy, and, their money.
But what if there was a simple, kind of elegant solution to all this? Well, there is, and it's called the MoSCoW method. It's a framework built specifically to bring clarity and consensus to any team.
So, this method was actually created by a software developer named Di Clegg while he was working at Oracle, and his whole goal was pretty simple. Stop wasting time, especially during that super intense development phase of a new product.
Now, despite the name, it has absolutely nothing to do with the city. It's just a simple acronym. And each letter stands for a different category of priority, which makes it incredibly easy to remember and actually use.
Okay, so let's break down what those letters actually stand for. This is the real core of the framework, and you'll see it's brilliantly simple. First up, M is for must-have. These are the absolute non-negotiables. Think of it this way. If you're building a car, the engine is a must-have. Simple as that. Without these things, the project or the product just can't be delivered. They are critical for this launch.
Next, we've got S for should have. Now, these items are also really important, but they aren't quite as time-sensitive as the must-haves. They're essential for the product to be successful, but the project could still launch without them if it absolutely had to.
And this right here is where the distinction gets super clear. A must-have is critical for this delivery right now. A should-have is also critical, but it could maybe be pushed to a later delivery if you're tight on resources. That is the key difference.
Then we have C for could have. These are what you might call the nice-to-haves. They'd be a great addition, they would add some value, but they are not critical. If you have some extra time or budget, these are the features you look at.
And finally, we have W for will not have. Now, this category is surprisingly powerful. This is for all the items the team explicitly agrees are out of scope for right now. And this does way more than just prevent that dreaded scope creep. It actually reduces the team's mental burden. By officially taking things off the table, you free up so much mental energy and create this intense focus on what really matters. You're killing distractions before they even pop up. So, let's just do a quick recap of the whole thing. Must have, totally non-negotiable. Should have, essential, but it can wait. Could have, desirable, but not critical. And will not have, completely out of scope. See, it's a simple, clear, and super effective way to categorize, well, everything.
Okay, so now we get the categories. Let's talk about the payoff. How does this simple little acronym translate into real-world benefits for your team? Why does it work so well?
Oh, the payoff is huge. By focusing everyone on the most important stuff, it keeps the entire team aligned and moving in the same direction. This shared understanding, it helps projects get done way faster. It also helps manage expectations with clients and customers because everybody agrees on what's required from the start. It kicks unnecessary work to the curb, and as a result, it minimizes all that wasted time, effort, and money we talked about.
At the end of the day, the MoSCoW method is really a tool for focus. It forces teams to be disciplined, making sure their work stays lean, agile, and just wonderfully simple.
Of course, like any tool, it's only as good as the person using it. So to really get the most out of the MoSCoW method, you've got to be aware of a few common pitfalls.
Yeah, things can definitely go wrong if you're not careful. For example, if you don't have clear rules, people will score tasks inconsistently. If you forget to include key stakeholders, you're not going to get real buy-in. Personal bias can cause people to push their own pet projects into that must-have category. And probably the biggest one, if your priorities aren't aligned with the larger company goals, you're just getting really good at doing the wrong things. But hey, the good news is avoiding these traps is actually pretty straightforward. First, agree on the rules for how you're going to score and categorize things before you even start. Second, make sure every single key stakeholder, from the engineers to the sales team to the client, gets a voice in the process. And third, once those priorities are locked in, share them. Share them widely. Transparency is what creates alignment across the whole organization.
So, we've covered the what, the why, and the how. Let's bring it all home with the one key takeaway that'll make this work for you and your team.
When it comes right down to it, the real power of the MoSCoW method isn't just about sorting tasks into buckets. Its true magic is that it creates a shared, simple language that everyone can use to talk about what's important. It turns those endless, subjective debates into an objective, structured conversation. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As we saw, that will not have category is often the most powerful, the most liberating, because it just clears the deck. So I want you to ask yourself and your team this. What are you working on right now that you could explicitly decide not to do? What can you cut today to get your focus back, to free up that precious mental space, and to pour all your resources into what truly, truly matters?